Good evening, everyone. It's now 6:30 and it's time to call the regular meeting of the Victoria City Council to order. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on our agenda tonight is announcements. All meetings of the City Council are open to the public and held in the council chambers at City Hall unless otherwise noted. If you're interested in speaking at a council meeting, we encourage you to contact our city clerk for more information. The city will hold its next budget workshop on Monday, August 28th at 5 p.m. During this workshop, we'll be discussing fees and charges for 2024, as well as having an opportunity to hear from each of our departments on budget pressures, cost savings, and operational efficiencies. The city will consider its maximum tax levy during our regular city council meeting on Monday, September 11th at 6:30 p.m. The council will not approve a final budget until December, so the levy can go down between now and December, but it cannot exceed what will be adopted for the maximum tax as the maximum tax levy. Additionally, on Monday, September 11th, prior to the budget discussion, the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District will present an update on the work and projects they are doing and have planned for the future. This will take place at 6 p.m. on September 11th in the council chambers. In other announcements, we want to say thank you to everybody who participated in Night to Unite. The event was held on August 1st, and we had a record number of parties who registered this year. We were able to visit the first 20 neighborhood parties along with several on the waiting list. It was a great night to mingle with neighbors and friends, new and old, and see so many friendly faces that evening. So thanks again to everybody who participated. There are no proclamations this evening, so our next order of business is to adopt the final agenda. Council, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the final agenda?
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is open forum. This is the opportunity for anyone to address the council on an item that's not on the agenda and not an application form that will be coming to the council at a future date. Please do not expect action from the council this evening regarding your comments. We may ask clarifying questions, but the open forum is not intended to be a back and forth discussion. No one has registered to speak in advance, and if there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the council, please step forward. Seeing no one, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. The consent agenda are routine, administrative, and do not require deliberation or housekeeping items that are required by law. They're approved with one vote unless someone requests an item to be considered separately. Ms. Hardy, does staff wish to pull any consent items for separate discussion and vote?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council, anybody on the council wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Or anyone in the audience wishing to pull an item off the consent agenda? Seeing none, I will have a motion.
Motion to adopt consent agenda.
We have a motion, and can I get a second?
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our regular agenda. The first item this evening is item 6.1, which is to review the set sale resolution and review finance plan for a bond sale. Presenting this evening is our Assistant City Manager and Finance Clerk, Tricia Pollock, and our financial advisor from Northland, Tammy Amdahl. Ladies, the floor is yours. Tricia, are you going to start?
Thank you, Mayor. I am here to introduce Tammy. She will be providing you with information for the $3,890,000 revenue and utility and the Series 2023 and authorization for the city manager to engage Northland as the municipal advisor for the bond sale. So Tammy,
Thank
the
you.
floor is yours.
Ms. Amdahl, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Tammy Amdahl with Northland Securities, here serving as advisor to the city on the sale of the Series 2023A bonds. I would note tonight you're not actually selling the bonds. It's the start of the process in considering the resolution calling for the sale of the bonds. It's an approximate amount of $3.8 million. As noted, that amount could change slightly up or down depending on the final cost of issuance because these bonds will be sold competitively. I need my glasses, on September 11th is the sale date on which we will accept bids from underwriters proposing. But before I get into that, with respect to the purpose, the bonds are being sold to fund street and utility improvements that the city has been working on for some time and is undertaking. The security on the bonds will be a combination of tax levy, special assessments related to the street improvements, and for the sewer and water portions, the pledge is the utility revenue from those funds sufficient to cover the full cost of the debt service. The estimated true interest cost, and true interest cost is a method, a rate that we use to evaluate the bids, is estimated at 3.9% based upon current market conditions with a little bit of margin in there. We won't know that final amount until the bids are received on September 11th. But we do expect, as in the past, the city holds the highest rating possible, AAA rating from S&P Global. As part of the process, staff will be undertaking a rating call with the rating agency. And given financial performance at the end of '22, as well as the strength of the city's long-term finance planning, from my perspective, Northland's perspective, we expect that rating to be affirmed, but we will know that after staff goes through that process coming up here. With that, those are really the key points. There was a lot of information included in your packet and available to the public about this bond sale. With that, Madam Mayor, council members, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Omdahl. Council, questions for Ms. Omdahl? Or Ms. Pollock?
None.
Seeing none, that's pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
All right, Trish, can we get a sample?
I have a copy of the resolution.
Okay.
Mayor,
Go
I
ahead.
could read the, if you want me to, or Trish is.
I think Councilmember Roberts has it here, so thank you.
Motion to adopt the resolution providing for the competitive negotiated sale of 3,890,000 GO Improvement and Utility Revenue Bond Series 2023A and authorize the city manager to engage Northland Securities as municipal advisor for the bond issuance.
Thank you, Councilmember Roberts. We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, the next item is 6.2, and it's the review of the revised final plat for Hunters Brook Second Edition. Presenting on that this evening is our city planner, Brian McCann. Mr. McCann, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Tonight, we do have a request for a revised final plat for Hunters Brook Second Edition from Tradition Development. As you may recall, pretty recently at the meeting on July 10th, the city council approved the final plat for 109 lots within Hunters Brook Second Edition. Tonight, we have a request to approve the revised final plat. So gain some background here, the intention of the revised final plat, they're requesting to reduce the lot count from 109 units to 40 units. And then those 69 units that are missing from this plat will be allocated towards a new preliminary plat. The reasoning for this is there are two adjacent parcels that are planning for development in the future, and the Met Council requires a 2.25 units per acre minimum for density. On those two parcels on their own would not meet that requirement, so the additional 69 lots will help them meet that minimum density. Staff has already met with the Metropolitan Council, and they are agreeable to this method. So the revised second edition, it still has the planned unit development rezoning from the first edition, and then they are only proposing the 40 residential lots in the northeast corner. So you see there that the 21 heritage and the 28 tradition and 48 heritage lots have been removed from this calculation. And then the final plat for that area in the northeast is still consistent with the approved preliminary plat. And as you can see here, only the 40 Revere lots are included in the lot regulations that are proposed. Regarding the development fees, these were all calculated at preliminary plat the first time around, including the 69 lots that are going to be removed. So staff are proposing a credit towards these lots when they move forward with the new preliminary plat for the remaining areas. And then the same concept would apply for the parkland dedication fee. Staff's recommendation has not changed from last time, so a lot of these conditions will look familiar to you from the meeting on July 10th. And then the sample motion tonight would be not a recommendation, but a motion to approve the revised final plat.
Thank you. A quick question for you. When are the other 69, when are those slated to move forward approximately? Do we know?
I can't give an exact date. Approximately, I'm expecting an application later this year from the applicants.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions?
Just a point of clarification. So the other 69 are the same makeup with the other two types, right?
Correct. You can see,
28 and whatever.
I think one more.
Yeah, there you go. 21 and 48. That all, the makeup stays exactly the same.
correct.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
All right, council, other questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt the resolution approving a revised final plat for Hunter Brook Second Edition.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, the next item is 6.3, which is the final plat and PUD review for the Hunters Glen development. Presenting again this evening is Brian McCann. Mr. McCann, please.
Thank you, Mayor. One moment while I get the slides up. So tonight we have the final plat and PUD request for Hunters Glen. Here's the major subdivision process. You can see here we are at the final plat, which would involve finalizing development agreements and reviewing the final details of the development. So the PUD process, I'm sure you're familiar with this, is to input or receive input at the sketch plat phase, then approve the details at the preliminary plat, and then at final plat, we adopt the ordinance approving the planned unit development. So existing conditions on site, there's current and historical agricultural land use. There's also some presence of wetlands towards the center of the site. 2 heritage trees are there, and then it also has 3 dead-end roads directly adjacent to the site, and then is north of Marsh Lake Road. So the Planning Commission first reviewed the sketch plat in November of last year, and then it went through another sketch plat review in January with the Planning Commission as well as the City Council earlier this year. And then it received preliminary plat review and approval in April and May of this year. So the preliminary plat had proposed 22 single-family residential units. This was reduced to 21 lots on approximately 12.3 acres, 8.7 of which were buildable acres. And then that density calculation comes out to just over 2.5 units per acre. With the lot reduction to 21 units, it's actually about 2.4, which still falls within the 2.25 minimum required. So the regulations proposed, the 21 number of lots with a 8,500 square foot minimum lot average, deviations with the 66-foot minimum lot width, 125 feet in depth, 8-foot side yard setbacks, 25-foot front yard setback, and then the impervious surface of 4,500 square foot per lot. A majority of the site is within the shoreland overlay. So the DNR has commented on this development previously, and it has received variances to shoreland standards for impervious surface and open space requirements. You can see that the requirements are 25% and 50% there respectively. The variances that were approved were 34% impervious. That's where that 4,500 square foot maximum per lot comes from. So 4,500 square feet times the 22 lots they had originally proposed, that's the 34% impervious. And then the 30% open space versus the 50% that was required. For landscaping buffers, they have a 40-foot landscape buffer off of Marsh Lake Road, which you can see on the south side of the development. and then a 15-foot landscape buffer on the corner lots on Red Fox Drive. And then these buffer plantings do meet the minimum unit and species count requirements. So for tree preservation and landscaping, they're removing 34 out of the existing 41 trees on the site, and then they will be replacing them with 33-inch trees. For transportation and access, they will be extending Red Fox Drive, which has some cost share to it. This would connect Marsh Lake Road to the development to the north, and then they are also extending Catkin Way from east to west. The parcel is served with utilities by connections through the abutting development to the north and to the east, and then it's a water system loop, which would be important for service quality throughout the entire area. The trail and sidewalk, you can see they have a trail proposed going down the west side of Red Fox Drive and then along the north side of Catkin Way as well. There is a crosswalk proposed along Catkin Way. Staff are also requesting an additional condition for approval tonight for a crosswalk at the intersection of Timber Terrace and Red Fox Drive. Regarding park dedication, the south half of the project is in the neighborhood park search area, but the cash in lieu was requested by the developer, which is supported by staff for transportation and access requirements, wetland density requirements, and the access to Victoria Elementary. Regarding stormwater management, this is subject to Minnehaha Creek Watershed District rules, and the developer is still currently in the process with the watershed for final approvals. As mentioned, it's evaluated by the city engineer and the watershed, but the way I understand it is that the drainage will be going from outlots A and B, which will be a filtration basin and the existing wetlands respectively. So with that, these were the preliminary plat requirements that have been approved or are currently in the process with staff and the developer. And staff's recommendation tonight was included in the packet. These are the conditions with that additional crosswalk at Timber Terrace and Red Fox Drive. And then the HOA, I believe, may have been in the packet, but there's no HOA with this project. So that condition is being eliminated. So tonight we have three motions, three sample motions here for you. The first one being the motion to adopt the final plat, the second to adopt the ordinance, and then the third to adopt the resolution approving the summary publication. This will require a separate motion and vote for each. With that, staff can stand for questions, and the applicant is in the audience tonight.
Perfect, thank you. Question on the, if you want to back up the watershed district, that those approvals were supposed to be received by today. Did we get those? Oh. Ms. Guerin, hello, welcome.
Hi, Mayor, members of the City Council. The developer and developer's engineer are continuing to resolve some technical matters associated with issuance of that permit. We don't always have that permit in hand before the final plat approval. As part of the development agreement, before they're authorized to proceed, we make sure that they have the permit. I did attend a meeting today with the developer and the watershed district, and they're moving towards resolving the very technical, detailed conversation that they had today around modeling and meeting the requirements, but
No indication that that's going to be,
no, I don't have any concerns, and the district administrator was on the call today too, so.
terrific, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, council, questions?
Just a quick question. Could we go back to, I think when we talked about the contribution for Red Fox Drive, I think we had a figure of, that we were basically almost like transferring over from the one road that we thought we were going to extend down, and now we're going to essentially swing that development money over into this. I thought it was somewhere maybe $500,000.
Yeah.
Serve me
Good memory.
Did we get the language that was clear, I think, with council, that would be up to $500,000, and if it was less, the developer understood that it's not a $500,000 check. If the actual costs are $400,000, then that's what the city would be contributing.
Thanks for your memory on that, Ms. Guerin. Can you?
Sure, you are correct. $500,000 is the cap that the council put on the contribution. They'll be providing their final cost estimates for review, but I am anticipating that we will need that full amount to cover our section.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council, other questions? All right, seeing none, we need 3 separate motions this evening, so I will entertain a first motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution approving the final plat for Hunter's Glen to the city council with findings and conditions as presented and discussed.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a second motion, please.
I'll just continue then with second motion number 2, motion to adopt the ordinance rezoning the properties within the Hunter's Glen development to a planned unit development, otherwise known as PUD.
Thank you. We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And a third motion, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution approving summary publication of the ordinance.
We have a motion. How about a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is item 6.4, which is a resolution to transfer the parcels within the Brookmore development from the Rural Service District to the Urban Service District. Presenting on that this evening is again Brian McCann. Mr. McCann, please.
Thank you, Mayor. For a little background, Carver County sends us a list annually of properties that are within the Rural Service District, and then we have to evaluate that list to see if any of those properties actually should belong in the Urban Service District. So the way it stands is that the most recent list that we've received includes 72 parcels that are currently within the Rural Service Development. Many of these are properties from Brookmore First Edition, as well as 2 parcels that are within Brookmore Second and Third. So to remove the properties from the Rural Service District, I wanted to highlight points A and D here as they are applicable to the request tonight. So any parcel that's in the RSD is platted, or if the primary use changes to a use other than rural agricultural, it has to be removed from the Rural Service District and transferred to the Urban Service District through a resolution approval by the City Council. So Brookmore, as you may remember, they've platted in 3 phases. The first edition was approved of September of last year, and then the second and third editions were approved earlier this year. Those parcels that are currently on the Rural Service District include the 3 parcels shown on the screen here, and then these are the properties that would be transferring to the Urban Service District. So pretty simple. That's the summary of everything, but tonight we're looking for a motion to adopt the transfer.
Sounds good. Sounds like just a formality. Council, questions for staff on this? All right, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt the resolution to transfer the parcels within the Brookmore development from the Rural Service District to the Urban Service District.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, the next item is 6.5, is a consideration of an offer to purchase real estate from a private property owner for a possible drainage utility easement. So, council, I make a motion to close this meeting pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05, subdivision 3C3, to consider purchasing real estate interests for or an easement over property located at 7882 Narcissus Court. That is the motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. For those of us here this evening or watching us at home, the meeting will now go into closed session in a room adjacent to the council chambers. Council, necessary staff, and the city attorney will meet in closed session and return to the chambers When finished, to reopen our meeting and provide a summary of the closed session as required by law. While we are in closed session, our video will display a splash screen indicating we will be returning shortly. At this time, we will be going into closed session. I will entertain a motion to reopen the meeting.
Motion?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
With that, there are no more items on our regular agenda this evening, so we'll move on to reports and emerging issues. Attorney Vos, anything from you this evening? Thank you very much. Ms. Hardy, anything from staff?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
And council members, anything from council?
None for me, ma'am.
All right, seeing no, there are no more items to come before the council this evening. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. How about a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned.